Well, it's been a busy week in politics and it's only Wednesday. Deputy Prime Minister David Seymour has been juggling a few hot topics: a new pet bond, rules aimed at making renting with animals easier while still protecting landlords. At the same time, the government's proposing cap on council rates. We've talked about this, aiming at between 2 to 4% increase limit. And then there's Mouldy Mintsgate. Kids serve mouldy mints, apparently, and the same bad actor have blamed the revamped lunch program. But is there more to it? Well, there is a lot going on. Welcome in, David Seymour.
Hey, how are you?
It's good. Been a long time no talk, so it's lovely to talk to you,
Yeah.
David. Can we first talk about the pet bonds? As of Monday, the new pet bond rule came into force. What problem were you trying to fix here, David?
Well, the general problem of people who have pets, don't own their own home, and really struggle to find a place to go. Landlords have a tendency to say, no, we're not going to take you on because they're concerned about the damage the pet might take. We've put in place a 2-week pet bond, which means that there's actually a reason for landlords to say yes and a way for them to recover the damage that might be done even by the goodest boy around. So we've basically introduced possibility, a market exchange. One person has something that one wants, the other person has something the other wants, and together they can make a deal that leaves everyone better off and feeling like their interests are protected if the worst happens. So that's the general thing. But there's a specific version of this which has been really strongly backed by the people at Pet Refuge. That's a wonderful charity run by Dame Julie Chapman, and in an undisclosed location for important reasons. But basically, there's a lot of people who find themselves suffering domestic violence, and some of the most awful behaviour you'll ever hear is people who basically threaten the pet to blackmail the victim, the human victim of violence. Being able to take the pet somewhere allows a lot of people, mostly women, to escape domestic violence. Now, Pet Refuge is great, wonderful charity, support it completely. But one of the things we've done is made it easier if they get out of an abusive relationship, they might go to Women's Refuge. The pet goes to Pet Refuge, and then what happens next is there's a possibility that they could take their pet to a rental place, and they're more likely to find a place now this pet bond policy is in place. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Okay, good. The newly announced rate caps, David, has some mayors crying foul, warning our rubbish will mount up in the streets, our poo may not flush away. Will a cap work?
Well, I mean, first of all, just on that feedback, what you're really hearing is mayors who aren't going to prioritise sanitation and aren't going to find better ways to provide sanitation and upgrade sewers in a more affordable way. That's what I'm hearing from them, and that's exactly the kind of attitude that the rate cap policy is designed to bend.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, it's not a cap in the sense that that they can raise between 2 and 4% per year your rates. So it's actually, they can go ahead of inflation, quite a bit ahead of inflation if they want to.
Yeah.
And they can also get special dispensation. For example, if they said, well, we need to replace our sewer system, so therefore we want to get a bigger rate increase, then they can do that. But I'm just on my way at the moment to Auckland Airport. Auckland Airport is a monopoly, just like the people that run the electricity lines. And because they're monopolies, there's a government regulation that they can't increase their prices. If they could put their prices sky high, and we'd still have to go to them because there's only one serious airport in Auckland, and there's only one way to get electricity. So it's not unusual to regulate the prices that monopolies can charge. The government is really introducing a regime for councils the same way that other monopolies are regulated.
Yeah, we need councillors to control their spending to make this work. But there's also a call for central government to help with things such as the rise in construction costs. Is that something the government can help with?
Well, I would argue the government is helping with exactly those things. The resource management law will make a massive difference to the cost, because we think of councils as being the people who issue resource consents and often the villain of the piece. But councils are actually major applicants for resource consents. The district councils usually apply to the regional councils in order to get a permit to build a sewer or build a pumping station or a water treatment station or whatever. We've got to make it easier to do those things, because otherwise people end up waiting for ages for connections. If you look at the situation in Mahurangi, you've got sewage killing the oysters, which is terrible. But you've also got a whole lot of developers in the region who feel that they, far from having too many houses, they're being blocked from developing new houses. And what's stuck in the middle is poor water care, who I asked about that situation. They said it's taken 2 years to get consent for a water pumping station, in part because of iwi consultation. Well, that's everything that's wrong with New Zealand. We're not looking after the environment. We're not building homes for the next generation. We're not building new pumping stations, but we are consulting people based on their ancestry. It's insane. That's the kind of thing we're going to fix, and that will take cost pressure off councils. And similarly, I would refer to the temporary traffic management. I mean, you look at a water care, you look at a Vector, local organisations are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not making that up. I think it's 130 million for one, 100 million for the other, every year on temporary traffic management, aka orange cones. So we are taking those cost pressures off councils as well.
Yeah, and what was Deloitte's report that said Wellington Council could actually still get rid of about 330 staff?
I'm sure, just as a start, I'm sure.
Yeah. David, Chris Hipkins is saying Labor would bring back the pay equity regime, but continues to dodge the questions on the $13 million price tag to do so. Where's that coming from?
Well, I mean, it's an article of faith, right? Because they've tried to position themselves as against this government and in favour of the worker. I mean, I just asked a simple question. Will the worker be better off in a world where wages are decided for large groups of people by judges in court? Because that's ultimately what they're saying, is that large groups of people should have their wages decided all the same by judges in court. That's what pay equity really means. And I would make the argument that in the long term, it's better if people are paid based on their performance, based on how many other people want to do the job, based on how much people are prepared to offer them, not based on a judge saying, oh, well, this profession has this percentage women, and that we think that, being a cabin crew in an aircraft is kind of similar to being a carpenter, so therefore we're going to, judge that they should get the same amount. I mean, it's all just crazy talk. It's not going to make the boat go faster. It might be good for you in the short term if you get an award that goes your way. But is that really any kind of dream for the future of our country? I don't think so. And there's also just a small matter that, with I say Brooke Van Velden, saved the budget for the government last year. She knocked off $13 billion of potential costs for the government because we weren't going to be liable to those kinds of awards.
Yeah. And finally, David, because I know you're heading to the airport, it's a gift that keeps giving. School lunches. Haida Community Campus in Christchurch, as you know, claims they delivered mouldy lunches. But New Zealand First Safety has now concluded it is more likely the affected meals at the school were delivered the previous Thursday, held by the school, not chilled and given out on Monday. Is it exhausting? The likes of Radio New Zealand chooses to breathlessly report every unverified claim made by the principal without pausing to even ask a basic question or wait for an outcome in an investigation.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to remember they one news they reported that a fly had flown out of a meal, but as it turns out, the meals were heated, I think, at 135 degrees for like 15 minutes. So it must have been a really tough fly to manage those sorts of conditions. It was a bionic fly, and they reported it. No one at the newsroom thought, gee, I wonder if a fly could fly out after being cooked for 15 minutes at 135 degrees. Just asking those questions. I mean, and now they've got this thing where, 15 schools got the same meal. The Compass people say that 9 lots were sent on Thursday, only 8 came back. Only this school had a problem. Food Safety New Zealand say it's more than likely, quote, that it was meals delivered last week handed out to children 4 days later without refrigeration, hence the problem. So, and you've got a principal who's a frequent flyer who's always in the media. So, look, I'm not saying they did it. It's always possible that, there's some weird thing has gone on that everyone's missed, but on the balance of probabilities, it seems hard to imagine how it wasn't the school that created this situation.
I just find it sad, David, that over the last 24 hours, a principal's found time for endless media interviews, attempting to politicise her mistake, a mistake made by the school. It's not the educator's role. I mean, in the meantime, what's happening with the children?
What I would hope, a school in my community, or if I had kids at a school, I would want the principal to say, first and foremost, what do we have to do for student safety? Are the children all right? Number two, how do we minimise or make zero any disruption to children's education? Because that's the real reason we're here. And then get to the bottom of it and maybe then do some communications to the media. Whereas what they've done is, endless media interviews. Apparently this principal was on one radio station this morning. They had to cut short their interview so they could go off and do another media interview. It just, absolutely, getting hammered here. But, you don't actually have to take media interviews. I mean, they could just say, look, actually, pretty busy teaching the kids. Don't really need to talk to the media today.
Anymore.
And besides, the investigation's not over, so we don't know the answer, and it would be wrong to speculate. That's the mature thing they could have done, but they didn't, and here we are.
And just finally, David, I just, on this, we've got over 1,000 schools now that have written to the government, to Erica Stanford, saying that they will continue to take on effective Te Tiriti o Waitangi. I mean, it's ideology at its worst. They haven't even spoken about how well some of the kids have done in that 12-week course, which is shocking. Where are we at with that, David? What happens with these schools and the unions and these activists that are just digging in?
Well, at the end of the day, we have community-run schools. People elect the boards of trustees and put in place the people they want to govern their schools. It's up to them. But I would just make a couple of suggestions for people who want to operate within that framework. I would ask a simple question. Number one, before your board of trustee chair or principal made this statement, did they actually consult the school community? Who are they speaking for? Number two, did they speak to anybody from outside the school community, such as those pushing and hectoring schools to make these declarations? And number three, have they read the full changes that Parliament made to the Education and Training Act? Because the first thing we did is we actually put academic achievement as the paramount objective of school boards. Now, none of these people jumping up and down are actually explaining how they're going to reflect that change. They might say that was already our goal. Well, that's great, but why wouldn't you mention it? And thirdly, until finally, the other change we made is we said you don't have to uphold the treaty, but you do have to reflect all of New Zealand's cultural diversity. So why aren't they explaining how they're going to achieve that if they felt a need to respond to these changes altogether? Again, you've got a lot of people playing politics instead of getting on actually doing the job.
Yeah. David, thank you for your time today. It's been great to catch up. That is David Seymour, of course, Deputy Prime Minister, ACT Party leader.